add value to your business, or do you want to just be this administrative person?
And often, if you look at your talent team and the caliber of talent in your company, they correlate.
You could hire the best person for the job if they were in your candidate pool.
All these individual employees, one by one, together, their voices all come together to articulate the culture of the company.
This is hiring.
Hiring on all cylinders.
Hello, recruiting pals. It's me, Rob Stevenson, here at the helm of your favorite talent acquisition podcast, Hiring on All Cylinders, and today is another very special edition. You know it's a good one when I enlist the services of Entelo's fearless leader, my friend and our CEO, Jon Bischke. Jon, good morning. How are we?
Always good to be here. We're doing well this morning.
I love it. There is the possibility of a fire drill happening at some point in the day here, so I'm hoping we can get through 20 minutes without it. But
yeah, we got a lot going on in the neighborhood. We have a fire drill potential. We had a bomb squad out. So yeah, it's an
exciting morning, and now a podcast.
Fortunately, this is not live radio, so we can re-record if we need to.
Exactly. And joining Jon and I is another fearless leader. Anyone plugged into our space is surely familiar with SmartRecruiters. They are an exceptionally powerful ATS. They truly do it all. I'm thrilled to welcome their CEO, Jerome Ternynck. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and good morning.
And there's just a minute ago, you two were going into like your visions for the future of the space and mobile, and I was like, whoa, guys, save it for the microphone. So now I'd just be happy to let you guys tee off on that.
I feel like these conversations, we usually want to just start recording as soon as we start talking because that's the most interesting stuff. And that's kind of what we were thinking about for the next 10, 15 minutes is just talk about the space. So, I mean, Jerome, you and I have known each other for many years now, and I've learned a lot about the space from you. And I've really always appreciated your vision for what recruiting is going to become. And so let's start there. Like if you were to summarize for our audience, what is your vision for recruiting in general? What is your vision specifically around the role that SmartRecruiters plays in the space?
Yeah. So my vision for recruiting is pretty straightforward, right? And it's one that we live in the talent economy. Everybody has agreed to that part. And recruiting is slowly emerging out of being a back-end HR workflow into being a real proper, strategic competitive advantage for businesses. And so we're seeing companies transition to really manage recruiting pretty much like they manage sales and marketing. And I think you guys at Entelo are clearly at the forefront of that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's something that's very interesting is to think about it through that lens, right? To think about what is the technology that we've armed salespeople with and we've armed marketers with, and then to bring that into recruiting. So specifically with SmartRecruiters, what does that look like? If you're sitting down in front of somebody who's running talent and they're looking to replace their ATS with a more modern ATS like SmartRecruiters, how do you pitch them on those changes? Like where do you empower their team right now?
So SmartRecruiters, we provide a talent acquisition suite, and I think we focus on solving three core problems that are really the heart of the issue of what's wrong with the ATS today. And it's about the candidate experience. And so we give businesses a complete recruitment marketing tool or tool suite that allows them to drive an amazing candidate experience across all channels: inbound, outbound, advertising, direct sourcing, referrals, websites, events, field, everywhere. Because if you want to be a marketer, if you want to attract and engage the right candidate, it's about having a consistent candidate experience across all channels. So that's the first thing where we really put a lot of effort in helping organizations change that. Because if you ask them, does your ATS help you find and engage great candidates with an amazing experience? The answer is obviously no, because they weren't designed for that.
Sure.
The second area where we make a real difference is around manager engagement. Because there is no way that you can actually run an effective talent acquisition practice if the entire process runs on email and spreadsheets, because the managers aren't playing with you in the ATS. And today, managers do not use the ATS for good reasons, right? It was never designed for them.
Sure.
And so we really have kind of reinvented the ATS from start to finish, from requisition all the way to hire, but done in a way that drives collaboration and manager engagement, and therefore allows organization to really drive an efficient, effective process that ultimately helps you make a better decision. So manager engagement is really the second thing that we drive. And the third thing is recruiter productivity, right? I think we've put so much effort on our recruiters, so much pressure on our recruiters to say, you need to be like a marketer, you need to do this, you need to do that. And by the way, you have less recruiters. And then a recruiter today starts their day in, Avature to throw some emails. Then they go into LinkedIn to see how the emails have worked. Then they go into Teleo to update something. Then they go into eQuest to post a job. Then they check their referral tool. Then they go there. And then at the end of the day, you tell them, how was your day? And they have no idea, right? It's really hard. And so we've, very early on, we said, okay, we got to build a proper platform, like a recruiting OS, that would have all of your data, all of your processes, and all of your solutions, your service providers integrated in one platform, kind of a Salesforce for recruiting, right? And this is where we met early on, and when you guys integrated over with SmartRecruiters, and we have built this ecosystem of recruitment vendors that are pre-integrated to SmartRecruiters. And so today, as a recruiter or as an organization, when you buy SmartRecruiters, you get 240 providers that are pre-integrated. And that means you have a consistent single system of record for recruiting. You have your recruiting OS, and that drives recruiter productivity. So that's kind of in a long nutshell, but it's great. Really addressing the three core pillars of hiring success: candidate experience, manager engagement, recruiter productivity.
Makes sense. And I love, obviously, the Salesforce analogy is very powerful. You guys know a thing or two about Salesforce with Brett and others who have that Salesforce DNA in-house. What do you think the parallels are between recruiting and the modern ATS and the platform approach that you guys are employing at SmartRecruiters? And then are there any differences? As you look at that world and you look at the Force.com platform and what Mark Benioff has done, and you look at what you guys are doing, do you see things where it's not actually a mirror image of sales and marketing? I'd be very curious to get your thoughts on that.
There's more commonalities than differences, right? And I think in what's common is, in recruiting, the candidate is your customer, and you need a candidate-centric design. This idea that you get CRM in one system and ATS in the other is just completely flawed, right? So you really need one candidate-centric system that allows you to track through the entire funnel. This is clear. The second one is selling, just like hiring, is a team sport. Right? You just cannot sell alone, and you cannot hire alone. Whether you're a talented recruiter or a super convincing hiring manager, doesn't matter. Hiring is a team sport. The third commonality is this idea of an ecosystem. And frankly, when we started with that open API, open platform, we saw, we looked at Salesforce and we say, how far should we go with it? And we've been pushing the boundaries of it. We have more and more businesses that are actually really building apps on top of SmartRecruiters. We've created a developer program. I'm sure we'll hit a limit at some point of what's possible, but so far it really looks like an open world of innovation, where many companies have actually, or many startups have tried to innovate, and the integration to the ATS has been the roadblock here. So I think I see a lot more parallels than differences, frankly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you hit on something that I've been spending a lot of time talking with talent leaders at enterprise companies about, which is this question that I think a lot of companies are going through around CRM, ATS, two different vendors, or common platform. And so I would be very curious your take on the Avatures, the Smashflies, the Phenom Peoples of the world. Are they partners of yours? Are they competitors of yours? Are they frenemies? Kind of where do you see that landscape shaking out? Because I think there's a lot of people right now that have differing viewpoints on ultimately how this plays out.
Our viewpoint is simple. if you want to drive a solid candidate experience, you need one system. And so we compete with those recruitment marketing platforms that have been designed to be plugged onto failing ATSs, right? To sort of hide the misery, if I put it straight. And we've rebuilt that, and we've said, no, you just cannot market in one system and hire in another. It just doesn't work. And I think we are looking at customers who now enjoy the benefit of one system. We recently went live with Visa as an example. They were at Entelo and other systems, and it's like, okay, so now we have our leads, which are the prospective candidates, which we nurture. We have them in pools, and then at some point they engage, they become an applicant, and then we take them through the process. Doesn't work out, they go back to being a lead. We keep marketing them, and it's hard to cut that.
Sure. And from a compliance perspective, obviously there are some very big differences between ATS and CRM. So is it effectively you're just putting a wall between this is the applicant tracking system and for compliance purposes, this is the ATS, and then there's the CRM over here, but there's the wall that basically helps people to not get into trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's we've combined a candidate-centric design with an application-centric design. So one unique candidate profile record, multiple applications. Each application in itself is fully compliant, has its lifetime and it's all of its compliance, but the core record of the candidate can stay. And we actually offer as a Teleo or a brass ring replacement play, right? We're basically really heavy into the enterprise space, and so compliance, global privacy, global security. We've invested a lot in that. We're ISO 27001 certified. We have data centers in Frankfurt. We're like as white as it gets from a compliance and security perspective, because this is table stakes, right? Because I can come to your office and say, hey, Mr. Recruiter, you need to be a marketer, right? And then you turn around and say, yeah, I also need to be compliant. So compliance is table stakes.
Makes sense. One of the things that I've always been very impressed about your platform from the very early days is how you've thought about mobile and design on mobile. And I think you guys have done as good of a job on that front as anyone in the space. Talk to me about what's new on mobile for you guys. How do you think about mobile for recruiters? Clearly it fits into this strategy of recruiters being productive, right? But talk me through that.
Yeah, so we started our mobile journey by saying the candidate experience needs to be mobile enabled, top to bottom, from start to finish, and that's a given. So mobile website, mobile jobs, mobile careers, mobile apply, and then we have a mobile engagement platform for candidates. So as you get through the process as a candidate, you really interact with the team. You get your interviews, your assessment, can even get to your offer on mobile. So a whole candidate mobile experience. Second, we say, hey, if we want to drive team collaboration, efficiency between recruiters and managers, we got to have a hiring app. And early on, it's like almost 3 years ago now, we launched our hiring app, and that really drove managers to be able to do what managers do, which is rush into an interview saying, oh, who is this guy I'm meeting now? And then go through notes, go through resumes, submit profile, share notes, fill in their scorecards, approve a job, approve an offer, see where we are in the process, share a candidate with their recruiters, receive a notification. So this really drives collaboration. And I think just like compliance is table stakes, for managers, mobile and collaboration is table stakes if you want their engagement. Now, recently we took this to the next level on the field as we drove one of our, or we had one of our hackathons. We organize hackathons frequently. And this is like build anything you want on top of our API. So built on top of our public API.
Were these internal people at SmartRecruiters? It was external people?
Yeah, both. It was a mix, yes. So startups and our own devs. And then after 4 days, there's this guy comes to me and he says, so Jerome, look, so I built this app, and so here's what it does. Imagine you are at a career fair, and you are the candidate, and so here's an iPad, and you can look through my jobs, and you can pick a job you like, and then you take a picture of your resume, and then it parses, it sends it to a parsing engine, it parses, you have your full profile, you confirm, and then that resume then in real time appears on the recruiter's mobile app, who can rate you in real time in a career fair. Do you think our customers would like that? And I'm like, yeah. So we productized it and we launched that in the summer, and this is spreading like wildfire because customers like retail customers like Equinox or Napa Auto Parts, or like we have a lot of Skechers. We have a lot of retail customers who have just basically put this as a point of sale app, like, hey, here is the jobs we're hiring. But then larger graduate campaigns run on this. So we're actually going live now in China with a very, very large 350,000 employee global company.
Amazing.
And their pilot was in China. And the Chinese recruiters were like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we need.
So you can, not only can you do OCR, but you can do OCR on Chinese character sets.
Yes, you can actually these days, right?
Amazing.
It's crazy.
That's
OCR
amazing.
and parsing. So
Amazing. Well, last question for you. You guys just closed a Series C not that long ago. Congratulations on that. Talk to our audience about what are the plans. You've got cash in the bank now. You've got the opportunity to really double down and triple down in some areas. Where does the growth come from? How do you deploy this capital to become a truly iconic company in our space?
I started this journey 6 years ago with a clear roadmap to say, I want to build the first alternative to the old generation of ATS, Teleo, BrassRing, PeopleFluent, Loomis, so the Mr. Ted, which I had started 10 years ago. So I really came here and took a blank sheet of paper and said, okay, in an ideal world, what should an enterprise talent acquisition suite look like? What should it do? How should it work? We spent 4 years in R&D, 2010 to 2014, launched our product in the summer of 2014, so only 2 years ago, right? Yeah. And since then, we've signed 700 customers, from small startups all the way to 300,000 employee giants, and this is our journey, right? There is a need for an alternative to the ATS. We cannot drive hiring success if we don't look at recruiting as more than just tracking applicants, right? And recruiters know that, but there hasn't been the technology available to them to actually make that transition. And so now you're like between the old ATS or the ATS module of your HR system, which is really another admin back-end view of recruiting, which doesn't really relate to the reality. So that's our roadmap. We've raised a 30 million Series C from Insight in the summer. We're actually a Salesforce venture portfolio company as well. So we've had a good journey from an investor perspective. Next step for us, we have 140 people in the company. We are investing heavily in Europe at this moment. Going to start going into Asia, and it's really rolling out our sales, our service teams to support our global customers and take on Teleo, BrassRings, iSeams, and the likes.
That's great. Well, Jerome, I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate your time today and best wishes with the next chapter for SmartRecruiters.
Yeah, thank you, Jon.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.